Everyone to mute your mic and switch off the videos to avoid inconvenience. I'm Gayatri Kanama, and on behalf of Rhine Publishers, it's my utmost pleasure in welcoming you all to today's webinar on the topic, Writing Synopsis for Thesis and Dissertation. The participants can post your queries and clarifications in the chat box, and at the end of the session, we'll also be sending you a feedback form. Please fill it out. Today, amidst us, we have a resource person, Dr. Benu Prasad. Welcome, sir. Our resource person today has conducted numerous training and workshops. He has also done various international paper presentations. He shows a very keen interest in the area of social and humanitarian work. Our resource person here today has also been honored Global Teacher of the Year Award 2020 at Assam, India. We are so happy to have such an insightful person amidst us. Welcome, sir. The session is now yours. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening, all the participants from different places. And once again, I want to welcome you in this webinar. I am Dr. Benu Prasad Sitola. I am from Nepal. So I want to have namaste to all of you. Ma'am, shall I start, ma'am? Shall I start, ma'am?
Yes, sir. You can proceed, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, once again, welcome all of you, and greeting from Nepal. Special thanks to Rhine Publishers and coordinator ma'am for letting me chance to share my knowledge, my ideas on the topics synopsis writing for the thesis and dissertation. I think I am the luckiest person because this is the third time I am presenting my views in front of different participants. So today, the topics of the today's webinar is synopsis writing for thesis and dissertation. It is, though the topics is very common, but it is very important because most of the, I think the participants here are most of the persons, they once or twice they have written the thesis or the dissertation for the degree, or they will write this thesis and dissertation for their degree. So it is the most important and common all of us. It is necessary when we complete our thesis or dissertation, then the university or the academic institution perhaps asks us to submit the synopsis before the final viva. So it is highly necessary to present. I think today's presentation make all of you a little convenience and comfort to write the synopsis for your thesis and dissertation, because in this webinar I am going to present some of the common and very useful tips that will be helpful to you. So let's go to the topics. First, before dealing with how to write the synopsis for the thesis and dissertation, we have to know the differences between thesis and dissertation. What is thesis and what is the dissertation? So this slide tells you the thesis versus dissertation. Actually, these both topics, these both terminologies make us little confusion, and sometimes we think there is the difference in thesis and the dissertation, but actually they both are same. In different places, thesis is used and in other places dissertation is used to describe the written things and our presentation to describe this and to have an introduction. These two terms are used, but they are not different. Actually, I have given here one example of USA and UK. In USA, graduate and master level, this is known the thesis, and when this thesis is presented for the doctoral level or for the PhD level, this is known as the dissertation. But while we talk about UK, the just opposite, graduate level and master level, it is known as dissertation, and for the doctoral level or the PhD level, this is known as the thesis. So I think I make a clear ideas about the thesis and dissertation. There is no differences, but somewhere thesis is used to deal and somewhere dissertation is used to deal. So only this is the differences. The word thesis and dissertation are often used interchangeably, leading to some confusion in academia about what is individual word actually means. So now next slide, I am going to deal about the differences between thesis and research paper. So it is the slide thesis versus research paper. There is the vast difference between thesis and research paper, because thesis is the written paper especially for the purpose of getting degree in the university or academic institutions. But a research paper can be the individual, and any person can write the research paper according to his own interest, and that research paper find the solutions of the different problems and make it easy and make it generalized to the different people. That will be helpful to launch their life and to get their works easy and better. So here are some sentences. The first sentences tells about us the thesis. Thesis in most of the colleges, completing thesis is the mandatory part to complete the degree. In thesis, you have to do some research and produce new result. Time devoted to research and results produced is not more than 6 to 12 months, unlike PhD, where you need to work for 3 to 5 years depending on college and instructor. Yes, I have already mentioned that thesis is the task that is done under the guidance of the supervisor or the guide to get the special degree from the university or the academic institutions. And the duration of thesis is different. If it is for the PhD level, it is a little longer, perhaps 3 to 5 years. But if that is for the graduate level or the postgraduate level, it takes only 6 to 12 months. Within 1 year, it will be completed. But while we talk about the research paper, this is the output showcase summary of your work done, drafted in a particular format with all the stats and the table and data, ready to get published in some conference. You cannot just write the research paper on work done already. It means it must be original, not duplicated and copy and pasted. As the name suggests, you need to do research and report new findings. So this is the difference between thesis and research paper. Now there is another confusion. So what is the difference between thesis and review paper? So there is the vast difference between thesis and review paper. As I have already told, thesis is the written act that is to be done to get the degree from the university or the academic institutions. But a review paper is such type of work that the researchers or the authors just put forwarded his views of the different published paper This is the review paper. So the purpose of review paper is to critically analyze previously published literature on a specific topics. It is not the new one. It published earlier. It is the past publication, and the author or the researchers try to make his own view on the published paper. This is known as the review of paper. Now, what is the difference between undergraduate and postgraduate thesis? This is also to be understood, and it is to be made very clear. Actually, there is no difference between the undergraduate and postgraduate thesis. Both are thesis. The ways, the rules and regulations are all the same, but there is a little different, because postgraduate thesis or the PhD level thesis is a little complicated and little complex, have a more volume and cover a lot of areas. But undergraduate thesis, it is less volume and cover less area, and the time consumed by this thesis is also not more than the postgraduate thesis. This is only the difference. Both are same. Differences between the undergraduate and postgraduate thesis is one of the degree rather than its kind. They share a common structure and need to logical rigor. It is only the substance and the emphasis placed on it that the difference arises. Yes. Now only we are coming to our business. It is our point and our topics that we are going to do today: synopsis and writing. But before knowing about the steps of the synopsis writing, let's have some discussion: synopsis versus proposal writing. In many of the cases, synopsis and proposal writing are taken at the same one, not the differences. But in some places, synopsis and proposal writing are taken differently. There is the difference between synopsis writing and proposal writing. I've written here some differences. I want to make it clear by reading the sentences I've writing over here. If we talk about the synopsis, synopsis is summary of research which includes introduction, review of literature, methodology, results, discussion and conclusion. This is usually submitted before submission of thesis. A synopsis is a planned project submitted for approval from competent authorities. It provides a panoramic view of your research for quick analysis by the reviewers. But if we are talking about the proposal writing, research proposal is the description of research which includes introduction, review of relevant literature, rationale of the study, conceptual framework, research questions, research objectives, hypothesis, methodology, research design, research limitation, and plan of the actions. Research proposal is submitted before you begin research. Yes, there is the last sentences. Synopsis is submitted before submission of thesis, but proposal writing is submitted before writing the research, before begin the research. This is the mainly difference between synopsis and proposal writing. A research proposal is a document which provides a detailed description of the proposed program. It is like an outline of entire research to axis that provide a summary of your future project. So within these sentences, we come to know that proposal writing is the written document submitted to the university of academic institution before beginning our research. But synopsis is the written document that is submitted to the university or the academic institution before submission the thesis. That means after completing the thesis, synopsis is written, but before writing the thesis, proposal writing is written. This is the main differences between these two topics. Now let's talk about synopsis. A synopsis is a short, systematic outline of your proposed thesis, made in preparation for your first meeting with your supervisor. Your synopsis will work as a kind of protocol for the further steps you need to take to ensure that your thesis reaches the required academic level and that you finish on time. A synopsis can simply be defined as a brief discussion or summary or the general survey carried out about the particular project topics, be it a thesis or dissertation. This is the definition of or introduction of synopsis. Now, how to write synopsis and what is the synopsis in a greater view, in a larger view? And the answer is very simple. Actually, synopsis is nothing. It is the answer of only these three questions. While answering these three questions perfectly, our synopsis will be constructed. Our synopsis will be made. Now, what are these three questions? These three questions are, the first one, what are you proposing to do is the first question. Why are you proposing this is the second question. And what is your plan to proceed is the third question. If you answer correctly with these three questions, then your synopsis will be constructed. Your synopsis will be made. But you have to think what to be the answer of these three questions. What to be written to answer these three questions. This is the most important. So while you are answering these three questions, you have to consider some of the points and some of the topics. They are very important to answer these three questions, and these topics and these points are introduction of the research, which you have already finished. Then background of your story. This is also necessary for the answer of these three questions. And the problem statement. This is another important point. Your objective of the study, importance of your study, rationale of your study, hypothesis, relevance and implication of the study, research design, population, sample and size, data collection procedures, limitation and delimitations, and analysis. These are the answers of these three questions. And while you mention all these answers, all these points, then your synopsis will be constructed. Your synopsis will be made. Let's begin from point to point again. Now, the next thing, the very important thing, that is there are some assumptions. When these assumptions are fulfilled, only then you have to write the synopsis for your thesis or dissertations. Assumptions, some assumptions that must be fulfilled, that must be carried out first, only then you will write your synopsis. Now, assumptions, there are some factors that are supposed to be completed before writing your synopsis. It means synopsis is written after completing some necessary activities and tasks. You have to finalize the topic first. Without topic, no synopsis is written. You have to understand this. If we talk about the topic, you have to consider some points. Topics should be according to your interest or given by your institution or related to current issues, or you think its finding is highly usable for the society. While selecting, you must think the availability of the related documents and literature. Next, before writing the synopsis, you must have collected and read the different documents and literatures. There are many sources of documents. You can find it from your friends, your relatives, your seniors, from the library, from your supervisor, from the market, or other places. That is must be considered before writing the synopsis. After that, you must have decided to design the research, types of the data collection tools, populations, its sample and size, delimitation, the analysis procedures, and so on. You have to decide this because you have to include these in your synopsis. Unless these are decided, it is difficult to be included. So I have mentioned all these things in a point so that it will be easier for you to know what may be the assumptions before writing the synopsis. There are some points. You have already selected topics, you have collected materials, you have read the needed documents, you have made timeline, you have decided methods and materials, you have fixed the research design, you have determined the population, sample and size. These are the assumptions. When these assumptions fulfilled, then you will write your synopsis. Now our next slide, this outline of the synopsis. What are the outline? If we talk about the outline, outline is the format, outline is the boundary, outline is the procedures that will be helpful to complete our task. So if we talk about the outline of the synopsis, there are some outlines. Title page, we have to make the title page, and table of content, chapters, references, and list of the publications. These are the outlines. Now let's first discuss about the cover page or the title page. This is the first written page of the synopsis. It is a cover page. It is the outer part of our synopsis, and some most important informations are to be written in this outer page or the cover page. So we have to consider some things. We have to follow some rules and regulations, and we have to be very careful while writing this cover page or the title page, because this is the attraction for the people. The outer page, if it is attractive, the title page, if it is informative, only then the readers want to go through our synopsis. Only then our guide or the supervisor want to go through our synopsis. So it must be very attractive. And these are the some tips to write the outer page or the cover page or the title page of the synopsis. This outer page must be completed in limited words. This title of the synopsis, the title of our research paper, it is also known as the title of the research paper. It must be completed in a limited words. If the title is very longer, no one has interest to read it, and the meaning of the research or the information of the research cannot be got with a lot of words. A lot of words means lot of sentence, and it makes paragraphs. So it must be completed in a limited words, perhaps not to more than 15 words. If we complete the title of our synopsis within 15 words, it will be better. And there should be properly capitalization. That is the rules. To have the capitalization, we have to follow these rules. Which words in a sentence should be in capital, that must be understood by us, and that should be followed very strictly. And properly connected to the subject, means the title, the topics of the synopsis must be connected, must be relevant to the subject. Whatever the subject we have discussed inside the synopsis in the different pages, that must be reflected by the title of the synopsis. And use single phrase, and grammatically correctness is also highly necessary, because it is a academic production. It is the academic production, and in academic production, it is rules that there should not be any mistake, and grammatical mistake or sentence mistake or punctuation mistake. This type of mistake should not be made over there. This should be very correct. Otherwise, our thesis will be rejected. Our synopsis will be rejected. Now, this is just I have given one example how to write the cover page or the title page of the synopsis. There is everything is mentioned over here. the name of the author, his registration number, his university name, department name, his session, everything should be written in the cover page. Whenever any person see the cover page, he must got the ideas what is to be written inside the synopsis. So the cover page must be very clear. Now we are talking about the table of content. The content enlists the heading of the sections and subsection using decimal notation is in the text with corresponding page number against them, first to the right. Table of content is just like an index where the topics, what is written inside the synopsis, and against it the page number should be given. So that whenever we want to learn or we want to read any topics and seeing the page number, we can turn the page very easily and find the topics without difficulty. Now chapters. There are different chapters in a synopsis. The synopsis shall be presented in a single chapters. However, it may be divided in the suitable sections, again subdivided into subsections and subsections, so that is to present the content discreetly and with due emphasis. Tables and figures should be included at appropriate places in the text of the dissertation. Indicator sections are given below. These are the sections. These are the different chapters. But we have to think one thing, that the chapters should not be written separately. They should be written continuously. When one chapter, when introduction complete, soon after completing introduction, you have to start the statement of the problem. Soon after completing the statement of the problem, you have to start importance of the study. That means these are the topics. They should not be written in separate pages. Let's discuss about the introduction. Your introduction is different from background in number ways. First, the introduction contains preliminary data about a topic that the reader will most likely read. Secondly, the background of your study discuss in depth about the topics, whereas the introduction only gives an overview. Lastly, your introduction should end with your research questions, aims and objectives, whereas your background should not. For instance, the CARS, Creating Research Space model, created by John Wiles, is based on his analysis of journal articles. This model attempts to explain and describe the organizational patterns of writing introduction in social science. Introduction, we had here some tips to write the introduction. Brief background and information of your topics, showing the gaps of the study. You should write the sentence in active voice, not in a passive voice. Should appropriate and strong verbs. Be careful about first person pronoun. You cannot write here with this. I have done this like this because in this case you are the researchers, and you have to write the researchers in place of I or we, and you have to organize ideas simple to complex, past to present, and known to unknown form. As we talk about the statement of the problem or the significance of the study, we have to remember these two paragraphs that deals about the statement of the problem. What is the statement of the problem and why it is necessary, and what is the significance of the study. Both are taken in the same way. Actually, a statement of problem is used in research work as a term that outlines the problem addressed by study. The statement of the problem briefly addresses the questions. What is the problem that research will address? This is the most important thing. What problem we are going to address? So, what is the problem that is necessary to be researched and to find out its solution? Is the statement of the problem. Actually, the whole thesis goes around answering this statement of the problems, and that should be also mentioned in the synopsis. It is a critical to document your significance of study clearly, so that the reader should know, understand very well your research or thesis. You can start with your general purpose to specific purpose. For instance, give an idea on how to help your research to a society and in individual. That means we always follow the rules to simple to complex. Now the rationale of the study. If we talk about the rationale of the study is the justification of the study. Why we try to have a study or have a research on these topics, that we try to prove this. After completing our thesis or dissertation, who will be benefited? Then what will be its outcome if we generalize this? Will be helpful to the society. That must be written either in the dissertation or in synopsis also. Now, objectives of the study. This is very important. That objectives can be divided. These academic objectives can be divided into two terms. One is the general objectives and another one is specific objectives. The objectives which we are talking here is the specific objectives, and there is the rules to write the specific objectives. The features of the specific objectives, that is SMART, SMARTs. In most of the cases, we find only SMART, SMART, but I added S at the last of SMART, and that makes SMARTs. S means specific, M means measurable, A means attainable, R means realistic, T means time factor, and S means sequence. The objectives which we make must be specific, to the point. It should not be general and it should not be very common, because general and common objectives is a little difficult to be fulfilled and to be researched in a research paper. So it must be very specific, not a general and not common. And next characteristics of our objectives is measurable. Our objectives should be such one, after completing our dissertation, it must be measured whether this objective is fulfilled or not. This must be measured. So we have to choose only the measurable objectives, not immeasurable. So attainable, the objectives should be attainable. There are different objectives that cannot be attained, that are imaginary. That imaginary objectives cannot be attained. So such unattainable objectives should not be kept while making the synopsis. Only the attainable, and it must be realistic, no imaginary, and there should be the time factor. In how many months or how many years our objective is fulfilled, that must be written in our synopsis. If there is not the time factor, then the objectives is not correct. And the last, sequence. There must be sequence. Our objective is from simple to complex. In the next part, in the right hand side part, I have written here simple to complex. Our objective must be simple to complex. And one more thing, we have to understand that we should not make more objectives. Perhaps 3 to 4 objectives are enough. If we make more objectives, then it is quite difficult for us to fulfill within the given period of time and within the given duration. So these objectives should not be more than 4 to 5 objectives, and these objectives should be written in a simple to complex form. I have given here one example how to write the objectives for the synopsis or dissertation. Same objectives of the dissertation and the objectives of the synopsis are same. First, we try to identify the present situation of anything. So our first objective is to identify the present situation of anything. Then our second objectives should be identify why this reason is behind it. why this reason is behind it. Then third objective, we have to find the solution. And the fourth objective, we have to recommend this or suggest this for the concerning authorities. For example, if we want to find out the status of women in a political involvement, the status of women in the political involvement. So how to write these four objectives based on these topics? The first objective should be finding out the present situation of women in the political involvement. Perhaps less number of women are participated and involved in the political activities. Then our second objective should be why this happened. Why less number of women are participated in politics? Why not more number of women participate in the politics? Our second objective, try to find out this point. And third objectives, what should be done? What should be done? Or what is the solution to make more and more women participate in the politics? This must be our third objectives. And our last objectives, we try to recommend this, we try to suggest this to the concerning authorities, make it general to the concerning authorities, so that the large number of women participate in the politics. So these are the examples how to write our objectives from simple to complex. Now we are talking about the hypothesis. Hypothesis is not mandatory for every research paper. So in research paper, if there is not the hypothesis, then it is not mandatory to write in the synopsis also. But there is a tradition of writing hypothesis. Actually, if our dissertation is qualitative, in qualitative dissertation, there is not strict rules to write the hypothesis. But if our dissertation is quantitative, in that case, we have to make the hypothesis. If we talk about the hypothesis is the prediction, but it involves more than a guess. Most of the time, the hypothesis begins with the questions, which is often explored through the background research. It is only this point that researchers begin to develop a testable hypothesis. Unless you are creating an exploratory study, your hypothesis should always explain what you expect to happen. Remember, a hypothesis does not have to be correct. While the hypothesis predicts what the researchers expect to see, the goal of the research is to determine whether this guess is right or wrong. When conducting an experiment, the researchers might explore a number of factors to determine which ones might contribute to the ultimate outcomes. And these are some of the characteristics of good hypothesis. If you are making hypothesis, you must be consider these points. Your hypothesis must be testable. It is falsifiable. It is portentous. It is precise. It is useful. It is sound reasoning, and it provides a reasonable explanation for the predicted outcome. These are the characteristics of good hypothesis. You always try to mention this in your synopsis. Now, another point is definition of the terms. This is also common and very necessary. Perhaps the researchers use different technological terminology in his research paper, or some abbreviation in his research paper, that the reader and sometimes the supervisor or guide himself does not find out the full form of these abbreviations. So that should be written in your synopsis, so that the reader or your guide or your supervisor just familiarize with this terminology and Literature review is also important part of your synopsis. What is a literature review? Actually, literature review is such type of work that reviewed the past publication thesis or past research made by different researchers. You have to read all these documents, all these research paper. Then you yourselves you have to write what you have find over there, what the past researchers try to write in these topics. You have to write over here, and this is known as the literature review. Our new scholars and the students in graduate level and postgraduate level also find very difficult to write the literature review. Actually, it is complicated also. It is complex also. So today I am going to make you very clear, and I am going to make you very simple how to write a literature review. And perhaps if you consider my tips, if you follow my tips, then from tomorrow, I think you do not have any difficulties and discomforts to write the literature review while you are having the research. You know, for the literature review, there are the 3 steps. You have to follow these steps. The first steps, you have to collect the materials, different materials, what you have needed. Your materials means the research papers, different books, different publications, different literatures you have to collect from different places. You can find this type of creation from your friends, from your seniors, from the library, from the market, and from the internet. You can find this type of materials that you needed. And after collecting these documents, you have to go through with these documents. I mean, you have to read once or twice all the collected documents, all the collected materials, all the collected research paper and other articles. And while reading these materials, you have to make a short note, like the title of the research paper, or the title of the publication, or the title of the articles, then the name of the authors, or the name of the researchers, the year of the publication, the main objectives of this research paper, its methodology, and the one more thing, gap of the knowledge. You have to find the gap of the knowledge. What is the gap between that research paper and and the research you are going to have? So you have to find out this gap, and this gap will help you to write your research paper. Then in the 3 steps, whatever you have written in a point, try to reorganize all these sentences or all these points, then your literature of review is completed. You know, review of literature is a very important part of research project. It achieves the following points. It familiarizes the reader to the problem under study. It describes the work done by others earlier, local or international level. It helps the researcher to understand the difficulties faced by other researchers. Research methodology of the researchers can be structured and modified after reviewing the literature. The review assists in identifying various variables the research project and conceptualize their relationship. And review of literature in a synopsis helps the reviewer in assigning the knowledge of the researchers. These are the advantages of the literature review. So literature review must be done, and that should be written in a synopsis also. Now we are coming to main part. This is the research design. This research design, we have already mentioned this in a chapters. The research design means the design of the research which we use in our dissertation, that must be written, that must be introduced in the synopsis. And if we talk about the research design, there are different research designs and that can be categorized by different bases. I have written here 3 bases. According to application, there are 2 types of research design: pure research design and applied research design. According to objectives, there are 4 types of research design: exploratory research design, explanatory research design, descriptive research design, and correlation research design. And when we talk about the information sort, there are 3 types of research design: quantitative research design, qualitative research design, and mixed research design. Sometimes quantitative is used, sometimes qualitative used. In most of the cases, some parts of the quantitative and some parts of the qualitative, both are used, and this type of research design is known as mixed research design. Which research design you are using, you have to mention in synopsis. Then we are coming to methodology. In methodology, there are 5 points: population, sample and size, types of data, data collection tools and techniques, data analysis tools and techniques. These are all the things you have to mention in your synopsis. So if we are talking about population, sample and size, population sampling, actually there are commonly two types of population sampling have been doing in the practice. One is the probability sampling and another is non-probable sampling. In probable sampling, there are some sub-points, some areas: simple random sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling, systematic sampling, and multi-stage sampling. Similarly, if we talk about the non-probability sampling, convenient sampling, judgmental sampling, quota sampling, and snowball sampling. These are the sampling of population. So, types of data, actually 2 types of data are used in dissertation and thesis that must be introduced in our synopsis also. These 2 types of data are primary data and secondary data. Both data we are using. And data collection, if we are talking about the data collection tools, these techniques depends upon types of data. If we are using primary data, then the data collection tools are different, and if we are using the secondary data, then the data collection tools are also different. These also introduced in the synopsis which types of data collection tools we used in our thesis or dissertation, that should be written in the synopsis. So if we are using primary data, then our data collection tools would be interview, observation, action research, case studies, life histories, questionnaires, ethnographic research, and longitudinal studies. These are the tools to use to collect data from primary data. And if we are using the secondary data, then our data collection tools are our previous research, official statistics, mass media, diaries, letters, government reports, web information, historical data and information. These are the techniques and the tools to collect data if we use a secondary data. Now, data analysis tools and techniques. There are different types of tools and techniques we can use, and it depends upon our thesis and dissertation. Which type of thesis and dissertation we have written, we then mention or we use the techniques accordingly. And which techniques we use to analyze the data, that should also introduce in our synopsis. And some of the techniques we use for analyze the data are graphs, charts, tables, Excels, RapidMiner, QuickView, SAS, and different types of tests are programming, SPSS, and other softwares we use. So that should be selected. I've already mentioned that should be selected according our research paper. Now this is the last part of our synopsis, result and discussion. That should be also introduced in our synopsis. And the result and discussion, I have written here in one slide, but they are separate. Result section should set out your key experimental result, including any statistical analysis and whether or not the result of these are. In the result section, you have to write only what you have found or what is your finding. That should be written honestly in the result section. It is not necessary for you to analyze, to discuss, to describe, or to interpret. Only the points what you have found, that should be written in the result section. But in the discussion section, a little volume you have to mention there. You have to identify the research gap also, understand the gap and interpret why this gap is to be fulfilled. You have to present your finding both way, in negative way and positive way. In the strength and weakness, both you have to mention over here. Then you have to interpret here. You can interpret here. You can give your opinion here. And you can have a discussion here in the discussion section. This is only the difference between result and discussion. Now the last one is the conclusion. Outcomes of in the conclusion section, you have to write outcomes of the study. Object wise, I have written here objective wise. Yes, in the first part, you have written some objectives. Then while writing the outcomes of the first objective you have to write first. Then the outcome of the second objective you have to write next. The outcome of the third objectives you have to write next. That must be sequence while writing the out of the objectives. You cannot write the last of the outcomes of the last objective first. You have to write the outcomes of the first objective first and the last objective last. Then in your conclusion section, what is your new and different findings you have to write. Your new and different findings you have to write. And there is the link among introduction, objectives and conclusion. You have to always consider that in your introduction part, your objective parts, your conclusion part, it must be interrelated. If there is not connection among these 3 points, then your conclusion is wrong. Now we are coming the last part, that is the references. References is also very necessary, and the references is the place where the authors or where the researchers has to show his honesty. Yes, we know that thesis writing is a advanced type of cheating. It is not a normal cheating. It is an advanced type of cheating, because while writing the thesis or the dissertation, the author or the researchers see the journals, the research papers, the articles composed by different researchers and different authors, and he try to pick out some of the ideas, some of the sentences, some of the paragraphs, some of the lines from these materials, and he writes in his thesis and dissertation. But he has to think one thing, that he can do this, but if he does this in the reference section, he has to mention this, from which book, from which journal, from which articles he has quoted this. He has to write this, and this is known as reference section. And there are the different ways and the styles of writing the references. There is the APA format, there is the MLA format, there is the Chicago format, the different formats. So there is not a hard and fast rule to use any format, but the researchers or the authors has to use the format which his universities or education institution tell him to follow, that he has to follow. In most of the cases, APA format is used. APA means American Psychological Association. This format is used in generally, and I have also just copied this format, and I, in my research paper, I also in most of the cases use this format. That is why in this webinar I am going to deal with the APA format, how to write the APA format in our in your reference sections. So there are the different materials the researchers has used, and it differs according to the materials he has used. For example, if he has used a Scarlet Journal article with a data object identifier DOI number, then the way of writing APA format is the last name of the author, then first name of the author, then the date of publication, then the title of the article, then the title of the journal, and its volume number and issue number should be written in the case of DOE number. In the case of DOE number, DOI number. I have given here the example: Smith J.A. Brown, Smith J.A. Brown, R.W. and Rovers M. These are the authors. And 2012, this is the date of publication. Yeah. Then how to create an APA reference page? This is the title of the article. And the Writing Studio Journal, this is the title of the journal. 22, this is the volume number. And 1, this is the issue number. 63 to 72, this is the page number. So this is the style of writing APA format. And next one Scholarly Journal article without a data object identifier, without DOI number. Then the style of writing is the same, but only DOI number is not written here. Again, your last name of the author and the first name of the author, then date of publication, then the title of the article, then title of the journal, volume number, issue number, and page range has to be written here. But if the researchers use the website article with authors, then the style of writing in APA format is last name of the author, then the first name of the author, date of publication, title of document, and this website, address of the website is also written over there. There is one important note I have written: if there is no date provided, write yan decimal d decimal in place of year, if year is not given there. Then website article with a corporate author, if the publication is made by the company or the organization or the institution in place of individual, then the writing APA format is name of the corporation or the organization, date of publication, title of the document, then address, website address. And if the author has used book, quoted some lines or paragraphs from the book, then the style of writing is author, author A or author B, whoever is the author, then the date of publication, title of the book, and then location and publishers should be written in APA format. If the chapter in a iterated book is used, so the writing of APA format is last name, then the first name of the author, year of the publication, title of the chapter, editors, then the title of the book. So if some ideas from film is quoted, then the style of writing is producer and director, then date of publication, title of the motion picture, then country of origin, then last studio or distributor should be written. And there are some technical aspects. These are also very important to write our synopsis. So I have written here, this is also technical aspect. These technical aspects are font style and size heading. It should be Times New Roman, 18 point bold, Subheading first, Times New Roman 14 point bold, all caps. Subheading 2, Times Roman 14 point bold, capitalize each word. Subheading 3, Times New Roman 14 point bold, sentence case. And subheading 4, Times New Roman 14 point bold, sentence case, and it should be italicized. And if we talk about the paragraph format, line spacing 1.5, vertical space between lines 1.5, windows and orphans should not live alone. This is the most important sentences. Perhaps most of you have known about this, and some of you have not known about this. Widows and orphans. You know, in our society, widows and orphans are cared by the family, and widows and orphans are cared by the families and the society also. In this case, how these widows and orphans come, it is amazing. But you know, while writing the paragraphs, if single line comes top of the pages or single line comes bottom of the pages, this is known as widows and parents, and the orphans, widows and orphans, and that should not be kept alone, that should be kept together. If it comes alone in the bottom of the page, then do not write in this bottom of the page, turn the page and write in next page. If it comes at the head of the page, then you should not do not write in the head of the page, but you have to write it in previous page. It means first line of this paragraph should be intended 15 mm. Now page numbering. Page numbering in the text of the synopsis shall be Indo-Arabic numerals at the center of the footer, starting from the starting of the first page of the content. It means no page number for title page and the table of content is written. Page number shall be appear 20 mm from below. Format of 5 level heading. Level 1, centered, boldface, uppercase and lowercase. If it is bold, then I have written in a bold case also. And level 2, flash left, it is also boldface, uppercase and lowercase. Level 3, intended, it is also boldface, lower para heading, ending with the heading. And the level 4, it is intended, it is boldface, italicized. That is why I have written in italicized also. Lowercase, paragraph ending with the variant. And level 5, intended, italicized, lowercase paragraph, heading ending with a variant. Now text citation, how to write a text citation in a synopsis. For paraphrases include the authors and the year of the publication. For quotes also add the page number. If no page number is available, add the paragraph number. Old paragraph is abbreviated as para. Means para means paragraph. For sources with the 2 authors, always name both. For sources with 3 or more authors, cite all the names the first time, but from then on use only the first name listed followed by ETL, meaning and others. Now paraphrase. Sub-paraphrase. According to Smith, there are 3 styles of writing paraphrase. We can use any style. There is not a hard and fast rule. We can start it with according to Smith ETL 2012 blah blah blah, or Smith ETL 2012 suggests that blah blah blah, or blah 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 Smith ETL 2012. These are the styles. Among these 3, we can use any. If there is a direct quote and first time cited, in that sense, a recent study finds that style of writing. Again, there are 3 styles of writing. The first style is, a recent study finds that blah 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 and Smith, Brown and Roberts 2012, page number 23. Smith, Brown and Roberts, these are the authors. And these authors are here in the coast, but we can write this without coast also, like Smith, Brown and Rocks 2012 state blah blah blah, then page number 23. Another style, according to Smith, Brown and Rocks 2012 blah blah blah, page number 23. These are the three styles. Among them we can use any. Now direct with subsequent citations for sources with the three or more authors. And I have forwarded here again three styles. We can use any one. The first style, a recent study finds that blah blah blah, Smith et.al. 2012, page number 23. Then, and Smith et.al. 2012 state blah blah blah. What he state, we have to write inside this inverted comma. Then third style is according to Smith et.al. 2012. Then within the inverted comma, blah blah blah, and page number should be at the last of the paragraph. Now tables and figures. If we use tables and figure, here are some very common tips I have provided here. It should be presented in portile style. More than half page should be separate pages. Should be numbered continuously. Number and title should be placed above the table, and figure number and caption should be below the caption. That is the opposite style of writing table number and figure number. If we write the table number, we should write above the table, and if we write the figure number, then we have to write below the figure. Now, thanks for your patience. I have completed my presentation, and if you are interested, then I can have another webinar, how to write thesis and dissertation, in my next opportunity. Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. Hello,
Thank
ma'am.
you, sir. Hello. Yes, sir.
I am entirely competent, ma'am.
Sir.
Today I am very happy that my Wi-Fi does not disturb me. It does not discomfort me today. Thank you once again.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Gayatri, you can continue.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir, for giving us amazing insight throughout the session. You guided us through each and every step for writing a thesis and dissertation. Thank you very much for that. You also mentioned the do's and don'ts that should be taken care of at each step. It also helped us understand the minute yet important details that we should not be missed. Thank you very much, sir, for the insightful webinar on writing synopsis for the thesis and dissertation. Dear participants, we'll send a feedback form. The feedback form is posted in the chat. Please do fill the feedback form. Do not forget it. And now I would like to ask the participants to share their questions in the chat box, or you can unmute your mic and ask the doubts. Sir, we have a question in the chat box. It is posted by one of our participants. The question is there any standard formula for determining the sample size? Sir, can I repeat the question?
Thank you. Thank you very much. If we are talking with the sample size, actually it depends upon the dissertation which we are having, or it depends upon the thesis. And in most of the cases in the qualitative research, the sampling size must be a little larger. Actually, there is no standard formula to find out the sampling size.
Thank you, sir. Participants, you can
Yeah.
ask your doubts in the chat box, or you can unmute your mic and ask. Sir, I think we have reached the end of the session.
Okay, if you have any query, then you can send my email also. I am willing to answer you in my from the mail also if you have any queries.
Yes, sir. And as informed already, we have now reached the end of the session. And I would also like to add another thought for today. With reading being a favorite hobby of many people and writing being the passion for many others, we'd like to ask you to publish your books at Ryan Publishers to add fire to your passion and more value. Thank you very much. And this being
Thank
the
you.
last webinar for the year 2020, we'd like to thank each and every one of you who traveled with us along this year. We wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year for the year 2021. Thank you once again.
Yeah, same to you, ma'am, also. And same to all the participants. Thank you.
Sir, just a moment.
Yeah, ma'am.
Question in the chat posted by Olivia George.
Yeah.
Is there an information from a blog good to be cited in the research? This is the question asked. Is an information from a blog good to be cited in the research?
Yeah, we can person from the we can cite it from there also, but it is not authentic. It is not authentic. If references is given, if references is written at the end of this blog, then we can cite there. We can have a cite from the blog also. But if references is not given, then we cannot cite because it is not authentic.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for today.
Thank you.